Hello and welcome to Journeys and Journals. Journeying across this part of the U.S., I was so lucky to be born here, and my guests are lucky enough to be born here too. I'd like you to meet Cleo. Last name that you were born to?
Doney.
Cleo Doney, and where was it you were born?
I was born in Cave Junction.
And Cave Junction...
It wasn't, it was Cave City, but actually it wasn't. I was born 2 miles south of Cave City, and my birth certificate says Josephine County rather than a city.
Uh-huh. And Dora?
I was born on this beautiful little ranch between Merle and Hugo, on a little farmhouse, in a little farmhouse.
And neither one of you had the benefit of hospital and all this sort of thing?
No.
Was there a doctor on charge?
Dr. Smith.
And
There was a doctor. I don't know his name, but I know he was an Army doctor and imbibed pretty much. So I don't think that was too much fun.
So the drunk doctor comes to deliver Mom, and she's saying, "I'll do it myself, thank you." Oh, and when you say Army doctor, you must be talking World War I.
Probably because he was an older doctor. Yes, because
You're born.
1927, so. But I know he was an old Army doctor.
Well, when she was born, you could have rocked her cradle, couldn't you?
That's right, exactly. 1912.
And what a privilege it is for me, folks, to talk to these women who have lived and loved life so abundantly. You can't be with them without putting a smile on your face. You have brought me so much joy. You have things in common besides red hats.
That's right.
How did this red hat, how long, where did it start? What's the organization?
It's been around for years,
Yes.
but it started.
These are called, excuse me.
Go ahead.
No.
After you? No.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, it's called the Yaya Sisters, our group. There are several groups of Red Hat societies. And we were having luncheon at this Hong Kong?
I think so.
At the Hong Kong. And she came in and sat down and started talking.
Do you know about the history of the organization? I expected you to both come with these flamboyant red hats, and I was going to wear my hunter hat because that's the only red one I have.
Oh.
Do you know the organization? Does it come from the poem, "When I am old, I will wear purple"?
Actually, I think it did, but this lady bought the red hat for her friend and came in, and they went to lunch, I think, and had a nice time, and then started up the program. It's to bring ladies together and give them something to talk about and fun to do.
How many red hats do you own?
I have 3.
I have about 3 too, also.
My start there was a little bit interesting too, because
How's that?
this lady friend that when I was married and had my first child, and she was 6 weeks old when we moved near to this family, and they had a little girl that was 10 years old, and she came to see the baby. The baby was new, and she was 10 and I was 20. And she is the one that asked me to join this. She left the country and went to Michigan and taught school and things, and then came back and joined. And so I started with her.
And how did you get started, Dora?
You know, I just don't remember, other than I wanted some social life with women. A group, you know.
You've been you've taught how many years?
I taught 20.
You taught 20 years, and that was in Oregon.
That was in Gresham, near Gresham, Multnomah County.
And you've had a career in banking?
I worked in the bank, yes. But
And
then I raised my family.
And now it's time for the red hat.
Yes.
I could just see us all with red hats here. I'll throw my hat in the ring. This little red, what's this tell me?
It tells about the beginning.
And? I'll hand it to you and let you share just a couple of lines out of there.
Well, it resulted, like I said, from one woman giving another a red hat as a birthday gift. And the gift was given to remind her friend to accept aging with humor and high spirits. And I think that's the whole thing of it.
And we have, haven't we?
Yes.
We have fun. We have lunch,
Yes,
and sometimes
we
we
do
go
have
other
fun.
places afterward, and it's just fun.
By the time this is shown, I will probably be 70 and you will be.
I'll still be 81. My birthday's in
I'll be 96.
Oh, and this brings us together. We usually talk about history of how you came to be here. And it was Mom and Dad's fault, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your dad, I know, and your mother owned a gas station.
Yes, they built the first gas station in Merlin
Do you know when?
in the about early 20s.
So cars were just new.
Yep.
And Dora has a wonderful story about that saving that gas station because your father had the good sense during a fire. What was that year?
Oh, I think I've been trying to remember. Is either the 31 or 30? Wait a minute here. 31 or 32.
Now, there was a bad fire. Where were you at the time?
I was on Sexton Mountain Lookout.
And you had a brother on a lookout?
I had a brother on Mount Peavine,
His name?
Dick Bland.
Okay, so there's two mountains, and what do you see?
Saw a fire. Scare you to death. Start right behind your home.
And the fire is coming towards Grants Pass from Merlin.
Yes,
And your dad has the good sense?
he was ill at the time, but he knew how to do everything. So he went out and backfired and saved Merlin. But it was in Grants Pass. I don't think it took it 25 or 30 minutes to get into Grants Pass.
Okay, now from your lookout, you could see this,
Smoke right behind my home.
not having any idea if it was safe or not.
Well, I could tell I had a telescope.
You had a telescope, and you also had a mirror. I want to just verify that little fact. What's it about?
Well, that was so much fun. Of course, we had a telephone, of course, but we couldn't really use it for a social telephone at all. And my brother was on Mount Peavine, and we would flash each other with a mirror.
Okay, so it's just something like this.
Right, exactly.
The mirror was nothing technical.
It was a little, probably a little face, you know.
Yeah, where she put on her makeup for the lookout. And so you'd sit there. Well, now, I had to verify your story.
She doesn't trust me.
Well, my husband was on Onion Mountain, and he said that is how they signaled clear over the mountain to the coast. There was one place you could see just barely on Onion, and he gave me the name of the other two mountains that they would signal, just to fine-tune things or something. But yours was for fun.
But it's for fun. Mm-hmm.
Hey, bud. You know, hi over there. You can't see me, but I'm waving.
Yeah.
Dora, you cannot know how I enjoyed that story, and that prompted me to ask Doug, whose dad was the the radio man for this whole forest. So he'd go to all these lookouts. But you've got a lookout story I'd just love to tell me about snow.
My brother was on Onion Mountain, and my mother stayed the winter with him. And my dad and I was in high school, of course, and my dad and I walked up there for Christmas. It was a 15-mile hike.
Yeah.
He brought me in the snow.
And what did you take up with you?
And we had backpacks. He had a heavy one. Mine wasn't so heavy. We took little food things that they would like to have up there. mostly.
What do you remember? Why were they in the snow? There's no danger of fire.
No, that was during the war, and they were watching for airplanes to come, Japanese airplanes.
Now, you had lookout positions, and I've heard from Leah Knutson that she was on top of the tallest hotel here called the Redwoods doing duty. How many hours? You do several hours a month or a week?
I think every weekend I was there on the road toward Oregon Caves at Holland Loop. We had a little building.
Holland Loop.
Mm-hmm.
And see what we were doing over here to support you off in the military?
We had to walk the old highway to get to the Sexton Mountain. We hiked up about, I think it was about 3 miles. But it was winding trail up the mountain, and it was lots of rattlesnakes. Lots of rattlesnakes.
I bet you've got stories.
I didn't. I was so fortunate. I didn't. There was just once that I heard one rattle next to the trail. It scared me half to death.
And she moved fast.
But we had to carry our water, and we packed everything, walked everything up the mountain.
Nobody took a snowcat loaded with your bedroll and your cosmetics
No. But I had a girl called and said she was coming to visit me, and she was going to bring a grouse, and I heard grouse around my place, and I shot a grouse and put it in a pot, and I already had one cooking when she got there.
Oh, what fun. And so you hunted besides to supplement your cornmeal or whatever you'd taken up, huh?
Well, no, we didn't have to, I don't think. I was there alone. I don't know what I ate, but I do know I had a grouse in the pot when she came, and then I did kill a rattlesnake one time. Great, big, monstrous rattlesnake.
Wow. Now, folks, these are stories that didn't come out in the pre-interview at all, and I love it.
If there was a little rock wall around the lookout. Now, I wonder if it's still there.
I don't know. I just learned when I was trying to get documents about elevation and all this for this show that burned down recently, and it looks like somebody did it.
I can't imagine a person doing it, but still, I'm not surprised what people are doing these days.
Well, and they could have just been toasting marshmallows and that got away.
It could have been an accident.
This picture takes us back before World War II. How far back do you suppose that is?
Well, I thought it was farther back, but the cars, I think, are probably, some of them are in the early 40s.
But this one is Old Cave City?
Old Cave Junction, Cave City, yes.
And these buildings don't exist?
I think those are the ones that burned. It on the west side of Cave City burned. There were a lot of trees there, and it burned down. And the east side had a building, and Art Drews had one building, and he was building more. So he allowed the people on the other side of the street to come and use those buildings while they rebuilt.
And these would be the merchants. And I know, I said, well, I know the Standard Station right at Caves Highway, but she said, no, this one, replaced this one.
Yes.
Because this burned. Mm-hmm. Fire has really swept through our country.
Oh, yes.
With our good hot summers and once in a while some high winds. Mm-hmm. Who am I looking at here?
That's my family, my brothers. The top one is myself and my 4 brothers, and the bottom is myself and 3 brothers, because the older one passed away.
Well, why don't you just name them?
Okay. It's Cleo, Ralph, Don. Cleo, Ralph, Mike, and Don.
And your last name?
And Walter Doney.
Doney. And they're from out in Illinois Valley, or do you say Illinois?
Illinois Valley.
Boy, you talk to some of the old timers and they want that S in there for sure.
Well,
because that's different than the Illinois out there.
Uh-huh.
But it has a wonderful history. A Lincoln connection? that people who started it, that would be a good show. We'll find somebody who can tell the whole story about why some of the people from there went to Lincoln's in Margaret. And I saw that there's a museum out in Illinois Valley called Kirbyville Museum, and I'll put a plug in it. Enjoy the summer, but take your family out to see some of these historic sites. The little house there came from up Taylor Creek. Doc Campbell, that's Harold Sr. Campbell, had that cabin, and when he heard that they were going to tear down everything, he said, it belongs in a museum, and they came up there and board by board carried it down to Kirby, to the museum. I'm so thankful for people who've saved our history. Speaking of that, what you got here?
That's a letter from my brother.
Now, no postage.
No.
Why?
Because he was in the service, they didn't have to put postage on.
And what's this called?
An airmail. That's.
Yeah.
Is it called a V-mail? Right here.
I believe so. Yes, I think so. Yes, it is.
Why?
And these were England, and then there. I have quite a few from Germany because he saw all that country over there, and when he was there.
V-mail letter, man, and they crowded a lot of words on that. But what was it like to get letters from your brother?
Oh, it was wonderful. At least we knew he was all right at the time.
And Dora, did you write home?
I did, and my mother saved all the letters. Not all of them, and quite a few. But she told me about her brother going through the Battle of the Bulge.
Battle of the Bulge.
And I had met a young man, a real young boy, and he knew it was the night before they left for the Battle of the Bulge, and we were in this USO. It was very interesting to see all the people around. But anyway, I said, his name was George Herman. And I said, if there's anything I can send you anytime, be sure to let me know. And he said he did contact me and ask for a wool scarf. And when I boarded the ship to go over to England and Boston, they gave me a wool scarf. I sent him the wool scarf. He received it, came through the Battle of the Bulge, and wrote to me when he was on his way home.
Oh, what a lovely story. Do you know where he lived?
Oh, I can't remember where he lived, no.
Well, these pictures, what you got?
That's 50th wedding
Well, who'd you
anniversary.
marry, Cleo?
I married a fellow that came up from California, from Fresno, and came in the restaurant where I was working, and I met him there and went with him 2 years and then married him.
Oh, none of this.
And you worked in a restaurant, too?
In Cave Junction, yes.
What's the name of the Cave Junction restaurant?
Fred's. It's been gone for years, but it was a little restaurant.
I can't go to Fred's and check it out. Now, did you work in a restaurant?
I started out at my career in the world at working in a Chinese restaurant in Medford. And I think it's probably still there, I don't know. But anyway, I lasted 2 days. I never waited tables.
Now, is this one of those boys you were talking about?
That's my youngest brother. That's the one that was on the lookout.
And
that he had just come home and his hair was grown long.
it wasn't the fashion in those days.
No,
Mom
no.
got out the camera to snap his picture.
Yes.
Look at the stamp.
And one of those shows, well, this shows too, where all the letters were opened and checked before they mailed
censored.
them.
They
were censored.
I have read some things that I wrote to my mom that was censored.
Oh, they scribbled out the fact
Oh, yeah.
that you were in London, or
They cut them out, out the words. They didn't want you to.
so you might open it up and it looked like Swiss cheese. And precious, here's a book of hardly even used up all your stamps here.
No.
Were these gas stamps? No, you could have sold those on the black market, couldn't you?
Probably.
When you got to Cave Junction, I mean, growing up there, this is long after the fire because the big trees are all gone. But
I think so, but it's the early picture yet.
Cave
don't know what
Junction
year.
was really significant because it was the road to the caves, and that during CCC camp days, the road, they made paved roads or good roads out of dirt trails. And of course, anyone that's not been up to the Oregon Caves and seen the chateau, I invite you to go see real history. Mr. Lim, Gus Lim, was on the project, and he took no trees right by the road, but took the huge trees and made it so secure that when the floodwaters came 5 years ago perhaps, the creek goes right through the restaurant. Well, they just let it go right through it. It was floodwaters, but it did not damage the structure one bit. And it's 3 more stories high. So I'm real proud of Oregon Caves. Even if you just go up for an overnight and dinner in the...
We went through the Oregon Caves when they had carbide lights.
Did you really?
Yes.
Did you carry one yourself, or did your guide carry you?
I don't remember. I was quite young. I don't remember. I remember the carbide light. Now, I imagine we were carrying them. I don't think we had it on a hat.
Well, Peggy Peckham Carpenter's brother was on the same hunting trip that had found the caves.
Oh. Wow.
And had been a tour guide in there. The Kincaids, it's just wonderful to learn that they had to come from over at Williams. There was no way to come through the caves. That was an add-on. You know, I've got to skip to this picture. There's a reason. There's a reason for this story, and it's all yours. Go right ahead.
Well, I was in Medford and went to the Camp White where they had dances, and that was...
They look so sedate.
That was the fellow I danced with.
Oh, well, it stopped quick, so the jitterbugging doesn't show. Now, how did you get out to Camp White? Did
There
they
was
come
a
with
bus. There was a bus picked us up.
Okay, I would like you to tell us about this. Were girls in town encouraged
Yes.
to come and be?
They were very much encouraged. They were asked if they would come and dance with the soldiers.
And tough duty.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. It was fun.
Did they feed you, or did they?
They had snacks. We came out in the evening and there were snacks and things. And
Do you remember what they fed you?
No, I don't remember.
Because
There's a lot of them, yes.
how is this in the dance pavilion or whatever?
Yes, it is. It's inside.
Folks, I bet you that there's some others of you watching that were in this picture even. And if you'd like to tell me your story, you just call. Now, don't want to miss one of the treasures you brought. And what's the story?
That my mother lost her piano on the way because they couldn't carry it over the mountain when they came Crater Lake on the way down from Portland to Cave Junction. And that was in 1915, and when I was born in 1927, my dad bought her an organ, this old organ.
Where did it come from?
Came from Portland, and they brought it to Kirby, and they used it in the Oddfellows, borrowed it, and used it in the Oddfellows Hall for a little while, and dropped it down the stairs when they had to bring it home.
The second disaster.
But my mother played it. She loved to play church music, and she played that for years. then I
now,
got it.
the
when
feet go this way to make it
Yes.
play. But look,
It needs help. It needs restoration now, but I don't know who works on organs.
you
but
still have it?
I do have it.
And I have a pump organ that needs help
Oh, do
too.
you?
I
Oh.
understand that the LB Hall Mortuary had one that folded up, and it was portable, and they'd take it out to Cave Junction for wakes and funerals and things for the.
I've heard of that too.
But look at this, folks. When I look at a picture like this, I can feel my childhood spinning on this stool. Did you ever go up too high? Mm-hmm. Then what happened?
It tips over if you get up to right.
Ooh, other kids knew the same tricks I did.
But that organ came through a house fire. We had another house fire when I was just out of grade school.
Oh,
And my brothers carried that out, so that we were happy to save it. That's the conscientious objectors, who were the smoke jumpers in Cave Junction.
1943, conscientious objectors. I know that all the servicemen were gone, and so firefighting here was a real problem, and they grabbed the Mexican braceros off the hop picking and took them up to out of O'Brien or out of, there was a terrible fire out there. My aunt was a nurse, Ruth Westfall, who spoke Spanish, and they drafted her to go up and treat the wounded Mexican labor firefighters. And I remember the fire. We drove through it on the road. Fire has been an important part of your life, my life.
My brother, excuse me,
Your brother.
my brother Dick worked for the U.S. Forest Service. I worked for the State Forest Service. And his boss was Lauren Cooper down at Galeese.
Oh, thank you for, and we're going to show a couple of pictures of your brothers. I'm Bernie Martin Beck, and this ended way too soon. These ladies are history, and I'm so glad that you tuned in. I'm Bernie Martin Beck. Thank you, Dora, Doris, Margaret, Babe.
Babe.
One name for you, huh?
Cleo.
Thank you so much, Cleo. That's it for today. Bye-bye for now.